all those who are aspiring lawyers and all those who are already practicing law. आजकल लॉ एंट्रेंस एग्ज़ाम्स की बहुत ज़्यादा चर्चा हो रही है. वी गो टू एनी यूट्यूब चैनल, सपोज आई एम गोइंग हियर एंड clicking on CLAT and we see there are so many things you can watch, so आप definitely confused होंगे. Now everyone here is talking about, once we scroll it down, 45 days are left. Somebody is saying what should be your preparation, last 45 days strategy. मैं इन सब चीज़ों की बात नहीं करूँगा because the number of days left are really now irrelevant. What matters is not कि कितने दिन बचे हैं. What matters is आप में कितनी हंगर है, आप में कितना पैशन है, how bad do you want it. So we also have our channel, though I am not trying to tell you that it is something which you should be watching right now. However, the मेन रीज़न वाई आई एम टेलिंग यू दिस इज़ दैट हमने एक प्लेलिस्ट शुरू की थी उस चैनल पे एंड उस चैनल पे जब हमने अपनी प्लेलिस्ट शुरू की तो लीगल रीजनिंग के कुछ इनसाइट्स थे, कुछ रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर्स थे वहाँ पे एंड वी वांटेड टू गो देयर एंड टेल यू गाइस दैट यू मस्ट वॉच आवर नेक्स्ट वीडियो जो कि आज मैं बनाने वाला हूँ. और इस प्लेलिस्ट में जैसा कि आप देख सकते हैं वी हैड दिस इनिशियल 70 डेज़. यहाँ पे 2 लॉजिकल रीजनिंग के वीडियोस हमने कर लिए हैं जिसमें इन द फर्स्ट वन वी हैड आवर प्रेमाइसेस, एजम्पशंस एंड कंक्लूजन्स एंड द सेकेंड वन वाज ऑन द mistakes to avoid to ace your logical reasoning. Today what we are going to do is we are taking it forward in the series of these video lectures and we will be talking to you about assumptions today. So in the last 2 videos I had talked about premises, I had talked about assumptions and I had talked about conclusions. So this entire logic is based on, revolves around arguments, and arguments are comprising of these 3 elements. So if you have understood the basics well, you will not go wrong in selecting the right option in your exam. So let's see what is an assumption. As already said, it is the hidden part of an argument, so you can take it as something which is hidden. Sometimes it is not, so then we say that it is explicit, and when it is hidden we say it is implicit. Now what is going to be the format in which the questions will be asked to you? So what they will do is they will give you directions, these will be mentioned, and in the direction they will say that in the question there is a statement given, there will be a statement or there will be a passage and it will be followed by 2 assumptions, which will, I am just using these abbreviations so that I am fast in explaining, and below there are 2 assumptions which are marked as 1 and 2. Now what you are supposed to do is consider the statements given or read the passage and decide which are implicit in the statement or the passage. So you need to find whether assumption 1 is implicit or 2 is implicit, or either 1 or either 2 is implicit or neither are implicit, right? So कुछ options आपको दिए होंगे. Now यहाँ तक हमने समझ लिया है कि assumption is something which is assumed, supposed, taken for granted. So there is a lot which is not said sometimes, and वहाँ पे we need to be careful that how are we going to approach. Now let's say there are 2 people talking and the way they argue is, suppose somebody says that Tendulkar, we all know him, is a fine batsman. So, if he is a fine batsman, India should win the match. Now, this is a scenario wherein there is a match going on and somebody from the audience sees him coming over to bat and he says Tendulkar is a fine batsman, so India should win the match. Now, what is happening here is the statement is said. It's a everyday life we talk like this. In this, what is missing is the assumption which has been taken. We have directly come to this conclusion. However, if I would have stated it in an ideal way, and what that ideal way could have been, I should have said, after saying that he is a fine batsman, he is a fine batsman, the assumption which was not stated there is that any fine batsman, fine bat, I am writing abbreviations, is likely to help his team in doing what? Win the match. And that's kind of quite fair and valid assumption. So, this assumption was not stated up there, or is not stated when we actual way in which when we present our arguments, and after this statement was left unsaid over there because we take it for granted. And lastly, then I say, I come to my conclusion and I say, so India should or may win the match. So, you saw here that in the previous one, the actual way in which we argue, this was not stated. However, this was assumed. Now, let us see some more simple cases of assumption, and you will see that you will try to understand whether the assumptions drawn are valid or not. So, let us go and type down one statement. Wait. According to me, you should get your child examined by specialist doctor. Okay. Specialist doctor. So, as you can see, this is a statement. Now, if I asked you, what is the assumption over here? Or if I state the assumption here, you should be able to tell me whether it's valid or not. So, let us see what could be the assumption over here. Specialist doctors are able to diagnose better than ordinary doctors. So, if this is, here is our statement, this is our statement. So, if we say that this is our assumption, that specialist doctors are able to diagnose better than ordinary doctors, this assumption will be, if they ask you whether it's valid or not, whether it's valid, whether it is invalid, you should be able to say that of course it is valid, because one is advising and perhaps that person is his friend to get his child examined by a specialist doctor. So, obviously, he is assuming that specialist doctors diagnose better than ordinary ones, otherwise he would not have advised. So, therefore, this assumption is valid. Now, if I just quickly give you another example and then we will conclude the class. The book is intended to guide the layman to study yoga in the absence of a teacher. Okay. So, the book is intended to guide, pardon here, the should be the layman to study yoga in the absence of a teacher. There is a statement. This one is a statement, and I give you two assumptions, and then I will ask you the question whether they are correct or not. So, let us have the first assumption. A teacher of yoga may not be available to everyone. And let us have the second assumption. Yoga can be learnt with the help of a book. So, you have seen the statement, and now you have seen assumption 1 and assumption 2. Now, your task is to tell me which one is correct, which is incorrect. So, a closer look on both these will tell you that both are correct. And why? Because the book is intended to teach yoga in the absence of a teacher. This means that absence of teacher is a possibility, and therefore this is correct. So, one is valid. That the book intends to teach yoga implies that second is also valid. So, in this case, what we saw is there was a statement and there were two assumptions given. Generally, this video is basically to familiarize you with what kind of statement or passages will be given and how the assumptions will be listed below. So, if you have understood thus far and so far, I think you will be able to handle the questions which may come in your exam. Now, there are few more things which we need to understand before we just finish this one, this video. Sometimes there are few single words or phrases which can make a lot of difference, and we call them as definitive words. Now, what are these? When we go on to the task of determining the validity of any assumption, so it's not very difficult, we have seen, but sometimes it is delicate enough to demand from us a very alert and cautious approach. So, what we should know that we should be aware of the difference that can be created by some words, and these words basically tend to lead give a greater degree of emphasis or more weight on the sentence than others. Now, how they give an exclusiveness to any sentence and reduce the range or scope of that sentence. There will be keywords used like only, like best, strongest, definitely, certainly. So, now let us understand this with the help of an example. So, there will be statements given, and there will be assumptions given, and of course, there will be valid and not valid assumptions. So, this is our last exercise for this chapter. So, stay tuned and let us understand this definitive words with an example. The BOP crisis has worsened and the government should make every effort to boost exports. Okay. So let's get them together. It's balance of payment when they say BOP, and actually it's written here as capital B and capital P. So this is a term from your economics, you would know this. So BOP crisis has worsened and the government should make every effort to boost exports. So this is your statement. Now let's see the assumptions and then we will decide which one is valid. So the first one, exports are the best solution to avert the BOP crisis. To avert the BOP crisis. Okay, now I am not going to do the corrections, let's not waste time. Okay. Exports are a reasonably good solution to the BOP crisis. So the second assumption, exports are the only solution to overcome the BOP crisis. Okay. So keep reading these assumptions and try to figure out which is correct, which is not correct. While I give you the answer later, let's have another assumption. The BOP crisis will definitely be averted by boosting exports. So this is our fourth assumption. Now you must be wondering how many are there. So there's going to be the last one. The BOP crisis will probably be averted by boosting, the BOP crisis will probably be averted by boosting exports. By boosting exports. Okay, so this was our final one and let's see all of them together along with our statement. Now what you, I'm sorry, I just closed it. Yeah. Okay. Now this was our statement. The BOP crisis has worsened and the government should make every effort to boost exports, and this is followed by 5 assumptions. So we have our 1, we have this is 2, this is 3, this is 4 and this is 5. So now the question in front of is that which are the valid ones and which is invalid. Now I will quickly do it for you, answer and explain to you, and then we will solve a number of questions which will be given to you as part of your daily practice papers. Now here in this example 2 and 5 are valid assumptions. Okay, how? 2 and 5 are valid assumptions, while 1, 3 and 4, 1, 3 and 4 are not. Now the reason is that 1, 3 and 4 use definitive words. What are they using? Definitive words like best. They are using only. They are using definitely. Now the statement in the question just mentions a fact that BOP crisis has worsened and then makes a suggestion that exports should be boosted. Now the author of this advice is obviously assuming that exports should help the country overcome the crisis, the BOP crisis, or that exports are a good or maybe reasonably good solution. But there is no hint given by him whatsoever that exports are the only solution or the best solution and they will definitely, the BOP crisis will definitely be averted. So he has not said that. So yahan pe what we see that when definitive words are used, they lend a different tone to the sentence and we should be careful about them. And we should be going by this logic, what I have just told you, we should be able to home on to the correct assumption given. Now, there will be some categories, there are some categories of assumptions. For example, if I tell you that, let's give a statement. I said, if I say, let's go here, sorry. It rained last night. The grounds must have become wet. So, this is a valid assumption. When it rains, the ground becomes wet. So, this is something called a cause effect type of sentence, the statement. So, this statement is giving out a cause effect relationship actually. And then there are others which are called course of action. Now, what is a course of action? Course of action is basically nothing but if sometimes any fact or some observation and data is given and it is followed by a course of action. So, the given data may be X and the suggested course of action they give is Y. Now, if I what happens here, suppose the statement is that the working atmosphere in our public sector units can be described as indisciplined. Now, what is the course of action given? The working atmosphere needs improvement. Indiscipline and lack of coordination are undesirable. So, these are, then they will give you a statement and then they will give you courses of action Y1, Y2, Y3 and like that. And you have to say which one is correct, which one is not correct. We will see all of these, the cause and effect, the courses of action and other types of assumption questions come with some practice questions, because now is not the time when we should only be reading theory and we should be focusing more on practice firstly and revision if there is a need for some concepts to be clear. So, while this video makes some of your concepts clear, it leaves out few of them in order to you to practice, and then while practicing get your concepts cleared. So, this was it on assumptions. I hope you will go to our channel and whenever I add this video to the playlist, please watch it. And you will be given today's in the evening class today, you will be given some practice questions on assumptions. And the later part, in the later part of our, in the subsequent series, what I am going to do is we will be learning something called the topic would be of our next video will be the forcefulness of arguments. This is basically, it will teach you whether the argument given is strong or it is weak. This is also guys very interesting chapter. So, stay tuned, watch this space. We will come back soon with another video. I hope this would have made some of your concepts clear, because remember, if the concepts are clear, you can attempt any type of question which is thrown at you. So, I wish you all the best for the exam. Remember what I said earlier in the beginning of the video, it's not the number of days left, it's the fight left in you. So, it's the passion, it's the hunger. If you want it badly, you will get it. All the best. Thank you.